business.
Who were the first headliners you guys worked with?
So I think the first big act that I toured with was Kenny Loggins and Air Supply.
Wow.
How about you?
I opened for a guy in Philadelphia, Grandma Minnie's. Adam, I can't think of his last name now. He was Count Isodets. You remember him, Mark?
A little bit.
He had a commercial that ran that revived his career. He'd been on Ed Sullivan, and all of a sudden, because his,
Wow.
he was Dracula in his commercial, he had a little
was
revival
big,
his
yeah.
career, and I opened for him. And he said to me, "I'll give you a tip starting out. Check out of your hotel room. It was on Saturday, and sit in a movie theater for 8 hours before the show starts.
For $1.50 to go to the movies.
And so you don't have to pay for a hotel for the
Wow.
second night and then head back to New York." And I said, "I can't do that. I can't be sitting in a theater with my luggage for 8
You go-
hours."
Yeah, you go, one ticket please, and can I store this trunk?
It was the craziest thing, but he was old school, and yeah, I paid the $12 for the next night to stay at the Ben Franklin Hotel.
I worked at Grandma Minnie's, and I worked with somebody who had the best opening singer I've ever seen in my life in show business. It was Richie Havens. I worked with Richie Havens, who was arguably, just a great guitar player, singer. And I got done, I go, "Thank you very much." And no introduction, they don't introduce him, but he starts strumming and singing in the dressing room.
Ah,
And I mean, and he's got a mic in there, and he comes out of the dressing room and starts walking through the audience, singing
Great
and
idea.
strumming. He gets up on stage, he's half into the song already, and the audience says, "Wow, it was such a great."
that's a great idea.
Could you look back now and say, what's the first joke you were proud of?
Yeah, I had one.
Ooh, first joke I'm proud of. Wow.
Joke that I had that I was proud of was, I had this joke, it was in a restaurant, and I said, "Try the ground chuck. Chuck used to work here." Remember that joke?
I don't remember, Mark. But
Yeah.
that seemed like the kind of joke
Yeah,
we would do starting out. Yeah.
yeah. Chuck used to work here. That was a great joke.
You know, first joke from my very first routine, Richard, was going to an intellectual high school, and I said, "Here's a funny joke," and I would tell jokes in Latin to the audience, and it got nothing. Surprisingly, the audience in New York did not appreciate this. And then I would do an impression of a priest from Notre Dame, which was funny in Notre Dame, but again in New York, not so funny. They didn't really appreciate the Father Griffin impression.
I did one, I remember when I worked.
But that got me started, so
Yeah.
I'm proud of that, but
Right.
it didn't work. Yeah.
Every once in a while I write a joke that was, a little dirty. I remember when I had one early where I said to the audience, I worked this place recently. They had bottomless waiters. They would stir your drinks without their hands. Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. That was good. And then you remember I used to curse that I had the one F word in my act at the smoke ring?
Oh, I think I remember Phil Foster
Well, he
telling
yelled
you
at me.
not to do that. It was so
Yeah.
dirty. Is
So I had
that
this
right?
joke I used to do. I would smoke on stage. You could smoke, in the clubs.
Yep.
So I'd smoke on stage. I could blow perfect smoke rings. So I would smoke. And it would be out about 2.5 feet, and I go, "I used to those as a kid." In fact, I could do that one right now. And it was really a very big laugh.
Yeah, that.
And I remember,
Did either of you ever use other props in your act?
You did. You used props. Books.
I would bring up books, yeah. Yeah, I would bring up 2,000 insults for all occasions. And if someone heckled me, I would say, "I don't want to use this book, 2,000 insults, but if you make me," and the audience would go crazy, and I would then start reading insults and the lamest insults, but the audience just loved it. It was a killer bit, yeah.
And when I first got to the comic strip, there was a period where I didn't talk. I just mimed. Remember that? I would just make faces.
I would just make faces.
And Lucian, who was he said, Mark, listen, we think you're really funny, but you have to talk. You have to have words. This is a comedy club. This isn't silent movies here. And I would wear a vest like Buster Keaton, a little black vest.
But it was 20 minutes. Those are 20-minute sets.
Yeah, I would just
You just
make faces.
20 minutes to make a face. Well, I'll tell you the one prop I did have, Richard, I would say, I'd make balloon animals. This was very early. And I would take out a balloon and I would go, here's a worm, here's a snake. And that was my
Yeah, I remember that.
What's it?
Yeah, just nothing, just nothing.
Gilbert Gottfried would do, he would bring up trays, like
That's right.
waiter, waitress trays. And he would do Mickey Mouse. And he would do Ubangi. Put the two trays together.
That's okay.
He would do a lot of
Yeah,
funny stuff. He also did contortions, Gilbert.
yeah.
He could bend his arm, right?
But that was his second act. His first
Yeah.
act was just straight impressions.
Straight
The
impression.
Marx Brothers,
Sure.
and he had a great ear,
Yeah.
and they were good. He was a good impressionist.
Very good impressions.
And then threw it all away and just did this weird contortion stuff and trays.
Oh, okay.
Mickey Mouse on acid with the ears
Yeah.
going,
He would do Humphrey
funny.
Bogart and
Yeah.
He did not just celebrities, but comics as well. Like he certainly did Seinfeld, and then a number of others.
He had a great
over the
ear
years as well.
Yeah. And when he was cast on Saturday Night Live, he could have been pretty good on that
Yeah.
with the impressions, but I don't think they ever really figured out how to use him
Yeah.
in that. But
now I hate to, I mean, Jimmy's very tight with money, but Gilbert was even worse.
that's right.
We've heard stories
We would go out and
How about Gilbert?
about both.
we would go out late at night, like 3, 4 in the morning, after the show. We'd go to some diner somewhere, and you would get a little muffin or something,
I would get a bran muffin and a glass of water.
and I would get
It was
something,
all I could afford. I couldn't afford.
and Gilbert would get nothing.
Oh yeah.
He would just sit there until somebody stepped up and bought him something.
That's right.
And then we'd take the train home at 3, 4 in the morning.
That's right. I would go all the way back to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And Gilbert too, or was he in Lower Manhattan with his mom? He was still. living with
He
his
was
mom?
down in Lower Manhattan, Avenue A,
Okay.
down there. But, what a funny guy.
Yeah.
I think most young comics look at that as some of the best parts of comedy, is being able to hang out with other comedians after shows into the late night hours, and not necessarily partying, just sitting down, having a bite to eat and chatting. And
Oh, it was the greatest part. No matter where I was in New York, the other clubs, I would stop by the comic strip on the way home and hang out there and go get something to eat with my friends. Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
We only worked like 20 minutes, and then we had, 23 hours and 15 minutes in a day.
So we had time.
Fair enough.
Time. Yeah.
And what was amazing was, most of us figured out how to pay rent without getting a regular job.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing. Because you can't do this and stay up all night at these clubs when you're first starting, and then, like Jerry Allen did it. And I think it contributed to killing him, probably.
Wow, he had a real job, huh?
He had a Wall Street job. He would work from 7 in the morning
Yeah.
till like 5 in the afternoon, come home, have dinner,
Because he was
take-
married. Yeah.
take the train into Manhattan till 1 o'clock in the morning, because he didn't get on early a lot.
Yeah.
Go home, sleep for 2, 3 hours, and do this night after night. And he had a great joke, Jerry Allen. He had a great joke. He said he went to, the men's, he wanted to use the men's room at a gas station. And you know how a lot of places they have the little piece of wood
Yeah.
with the key?
Yeah.
They had it on a tire. Say, here, rolling the tire in the men's room. Oh,
He was a great guy. Yeah.
tremendous guy.
And Dennis Wolford had a day job. He kept teaching
while he was performing,
while he's in the first few years, and would come home from school like 3 o'clock, go to sleep till showtime, then he would come and hang out in the clubs till
Wow.
Lenny Schultz was
2
a
in the
teacher.
morning. Yeah, that's right, because there was a pension. So he didn't want to give up his teaching job. So even when he got like Laugh In, the second incarnation of Laugh In, and that stuff,
He's still
he went back
alive,
to his
and
day job.
I spoke to him like 5 years ago.
He's in Florida now,
Yeah.
retired, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. He was a funny guy, boy. One
very
of the
funny.
first comics I saw live was Lenny Schultz in New York. Did you ever see him?
I don't know.
He was completely
It's
out
a
of
name I've heard
Go Crazy,
a
Lenny?
number of times.
Yeah.
Oh, I have. Yes. Yes, I'm sorry.
What was the
Now
thing
you
with
say
the
that,
Alka-Seltzer
yes.
in the mouth?
Oh, I don't know, like a little rabid dog or something.
He put Alka-Seltzer in his mouth and drank something,
And
and
then
you
just
know,
foam.
dog with rabies, and it was just foam would
And
come
he
out.
would juggle spaghetti, and it would just be all over the stage. And, you know, just.
But he had a weird side to him, because he had this girlfriend, I remember,
Oh.
and he would walk up to you with her, and he would go to her, take your blouse off and show Mark what you got. She's, oh boy.
And on stage as well, Marcus.
Yeah.
That's what I understand. But yeah, but a funny guy. One of the first guys that was nice to me of that older
Very nice.
group in New York. That yeah, they liked my act. Lenny Schultz.
Very
It's
nice.
great.
Are there one or two particular people who maybe gave you advice early on that really you felt like, boy, that really put me on the right track, or something you would never forget that it might have just been, hey, great job, you're doing the right thing, or it could have been more advice that they gave you that you still look back fondly and go, I don't know if this person knows how much that affected my career, or.
Well, I'll tell you, and you were there too, Mark. Is Phil Foster, who was a big-time comedian in the 50s.
On Laverne and Shirley. he played the
And then
part.
eventually on Laverne and Shirley, was the father on Laverne and
Yeah.
Shirley. He took me aside, and this is before Laverne and Shirley, at Alan Dick Steakhouse, this kind of B room that Mark and I worked, and said, you need some help. And he started giving us free classes every Tuesday, and then he got Laverne and Shirley right then and moved to California. But that few months of him believing in us made all the difference.
Right.
It was so unbelievable to have a professional comedian, you know, giving us advice and having us get up and do our acts and stuff. Yeah, it was just unbelievable. And then I was out here doing a sitcom on the Paramount lot, and I would see him, and I went down and watched a rehearsal of Laverne and Shirley one time, and he came out in his old military uniform in the rehearsal, and said, "Oh, it still fits," you know. And I said, "You know, it'd be so much funnier if it were so tight and you were just bulging out of it, you know, like you were the only one that thought it still fit, you know." So in the regular show, he comes out and it's all tight. He's got a wardrobe picket and it comes out. Says, "See, still fits." And of course, the rest of the cast has not seen this, and they're just cracking up. And so it was nice to give him kind of a thank you
Sure.
joke, you know,
Right.
a couple years later after that. So
You know what
Yeah,
does it
it's Phil
too?
Foster.
Sometimes it's people say things to you, but when you start getting paid, that does a lot to boost you.
oh yeah,
You know, I remember I got $20, my first $20.
yeah.
I did a thing on 86th Street. They paid me $20, and I said, "Well, I'm moving now." You know, what I mean, I'm on to it.
Yep, I was doing comedy about a month, and Norman Bright, a comic who in New York, had his own showcase, and he said, "Yeah, I'll give you $10." Then thanks, Mark's gotta go.
Thank you, guys.
Ba-do ba-do ba-do, ba-do 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 ba-do. Do ba-do boo-doo, a boo ba-do ba-do boo-boo ba-do.